Hey guys, and today's video is on building Magnus the Red, the big guy himself, the Demon Primarch of the Thousand Suns. Just done my unboxing video, so the next day I've decided to build it. By the time you see this video, I'm actually going to be away with work in America. So I've just pre-scheduled this to come up to give you something to watch and enjoy whilst I'm busy travelling around the world. It's an interesting build, but first I really want to talk about the price point of the kit. It is an expensive model. It's just 3 sprues. It's completely poseless. It comes in the one you get straight out of the box, and you've got very minimal options. You've got 3 choices of head, so an armoured head with 2 eyes, and a bear head with 2 eyes, and then a cyclopean single-eyed head. For my build I did go with the cyclopean head, as I think it's far more thematic for the guy himself. But the rest of the model, you've got 2 types of weapon options. You've got basically the large scythe blade with a large flaming ball on the end, or you've just got a different blade with different flames coming off the end. And that is it. That is your only choices with the kit, unless you really want to go to town and think you're a genius with the green stuff and you want to resculpt his legs and his arms and so on to get a different pose. But for me, for this kind of price point, I'm thinking that this should have been a far more optionable, far more poseable kit. But that's not what we've got. So we are stuck with what we've got, which for me makes the pricing, I think, a little bit high for what you get. Maybe if it was pitched around the £55–60 mark, I might have been a bit more happy with the pricing. But this is what we've got, so yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed, let's put it that way. Lots of parts to his head, as you can see me going through the hair build here. He's got a massive amount of hair going on. There's about 7 or 8 parts that make up that bit of his hair and his head. Nice and easy to put together though. Just cleaning up the parts and sticking them sequentially together. You can see this little weird piece here. I was having trouble trying to work out from the instructions where that actually fitted in. This is why you should always test fit until you work out exactly where it goes. But yeah, eventually worked it out, but it just wasn't crystal clear on the instructions, to be honest. Simply adding the horns now, clearing away some mess, and then moving on to the next section. So these are the parts that just make up his head. So there's like a crown piece and then his face part, and they just sort of clip over the top of the over the horns. Then we move on to the wings. Now the wings, so you've obviously got a left and right wing, which are slightly different in their angle. 3 parts to each, plus some mechanical parts that go over the top of it. So you've got the main part of the wing there, and then a smaller wing, and then you've got the lower half of the wing as well. I did note in the instruction manual that the very small piece of wing is misnumbered on that wing, but due to the limitation of parts, it was quite easy to identify what it should be. But again, that goes back to a bit of quality control and price point. If you're going to make it cheap, I don't mind you get it wrong, but if you're going to charge me a lot of money, I expect your instructions to be perfect. So those are the mechanical parts that go onto the wing there. So they are keyed as well to the feathers. So they do. It doesn't look like they should fit really, but then when they kind of click into place because of the inside of the mechanical part fits only with one area of the feathering. So just cleaning up the parts for the other wing then. So just fitting on the mechanical parts of the other wing here, nice and simple, same as the first one. And here we go onto the weapon itself. So his giant scythe weapon. These are the 2 parts that make up the sort of the ball that fit on the end, the flaming orb. As I said, there are two two options. So you've got the one with this big long metallic haft of the weapon, and then the other one is just the front end of the same weapon, just with some slightly different flame effects. So that's your second option to the entire model. Is this? Do you want the shorter weapon, or do you want this slightly longer one? Next was just attaching the arm to that weapon. Again, I kind of dry fitted this just to make sure that you couldn't have any kind of alternative pose with that weapon. It is kind of static. It just fits behind him, just as you've seen from the box art. And now we're looking at the chest armour pieces. Another weird bit of this entire build is that there's three pieces of chest armour here that I've just been putting together there, those two, and a centrepiece that joins them. Each one of those pieces was on a different sprue. And there's three sprues, and you're trying to put together one section of the instruction manual, and you're hunting for pieces across all of the plastics. That made absolutely no sense to me. But as you can see here, I'm now test fitting some of the pieces onto the torso. Just trying to work out where and when and if I want to attach them to the main build of the model to aid with painting in the future. Some parts it would make sense to put on, some it doesn't. So here I'm just putting on the cloth pieces and then one piece of the torso armour, but not the rest. Just makes it far more organised when it comes to painting in the future. With the cloth pieces, it does mean that you know where the shadows fall on his legs, so that you know where to highlight correctly. But the actual, metal parts of the armour I've left off. So I've assembled this piece, but there's leg armour and arm armour that I'm not attaching, so that I can prime them differently, spray them differently, and then attach them after I've completed the rest of the model. So just putting on the two arms, making sure they're nice and snug. And again, deciding whether I wanted to attach the wings or not at this stage, just for the painting purposes, but didn't see any harm in it at this point. There's a small piece of decorative basing here, which is basically a dreadnought arm that he's standing on, and that gives him some stability when you glue that on. It is keyed, so it does sort of fit only one way around, and then that means he can now stand up. Final decision to make was whether to attach the head or not, for painting purposes when it comes to detailing the model up with some airbrush and all the rest of it, but decided, yep, I reckon I can get to all the details that I need even with all that hair. So just to close out the video then, I've got 5 pictures of him put together. As I said, without all of the extra bits of armour, they'll be on later. But that's Magnus now built, ready for priming and painting when I get back from my next trip. This final picture here then, just for scale, in case you haven't managed to clock how big the guy is. That's standing next to an aspiring sorcerer from my Thousand Suns Rubric Marines. You can see he's about 3 times taller in body, and then you add another 1.5, 2 times taller in the wings. So, yep, pretty big kit. Anyway, that wraps up the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like it, comment, see what you think of the kit if you own it yourself, or if you've got some comments made on my build of the kit. And don't forget to subscribe if you want notifications for more, and I'll see you on the next video.